Hi, everyone, and welcome. You're tuning in because you want to get a better handle on processed food, right? It's a term you hear constantly.
All the time, yeah.
We've got some material here today, and the plan is, well, to try and get past all the chatter and really figure out what this label actually means, or maybe what it doesn't mean.
That's a good way to put it because, we often hear it used negatively almost automatically. But what's kind of interesting right off the bat with this source, it just presents processed food as, well, a category.
The category.
Yeah, simple as that. No immediate judgment, no real deep dive into what fits in it.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. So it's like a classification,
hmm
a way to group stuff together. But this source, it doesn't actually give us the rules for the grouping.
Exactly that. The info we have here, it doesn't define what processing even entails, what actions count.
Right.
And it doesn't evaluate the foods in that category either. Nothing on nutrition or health effects. It's
Yeah.
just a label sort of hanging there.
Huh. That really makes you think, doesn't it? Because when we hear processed food, I bet we all kind of picture certain things. Snacks, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Like chips or cookies.
But thinking about it like this, wouldn't something really basic like, I don't know, bag salad mix or uh, canned tomatoes, wouldn't that technically be processed?
Precisely. And that right there, that really highlights the challenge with using the term so broadly.
Mm.
If you connect this to, the bigger picture of how we get our food, so much of what we eat has gone through some kind of process. Could be minimal, like washing and bagging,
Right, like the salad.
or it could be much more complex manufacturing. So this source material, almost by saying so little, it kind of emphasizes just how huge this category might be.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because like you said, my first thought maybe jumps to, ultra-processed stuff, brightly colored snacks.
hmm
But the reality, just based on the source saying it's a category, seems way, way broader. What sort of assumptions do you think people generally make when they hear that phrase, processed food?
Oh, that's a key question. Yeah. I think many people likely assume it just automatically means unhealthy or
Yeah.
artificial or maybe full of chemicals.
Yeah, something negative.
Definitely.
Hmm.
But because the term itself is so incredibly broad, I'm it could technically include foods that have had really minimal processing, maybe just for safety, like pasteurization for milk.
Or preservation, like the canned tomatoes we mentioned.
Exactly. Things that aren't necessarily bad for you. Some processing actually makes food safer or last longer.
So looking at this, just this idea of it being a broad, undefined category,
Yeah.
what did that really mean for us? What's the main takeaway here?
Well, I think the primary thing is just the sheer breadth of the term. It's vagueness, almost. It means that label processed doesn't inherently tell you very much about what you're actually eating. So, for someone trying to make good choices, maybe focusing on specific ingredients, the nutrition facts panel,
Uh-huh.
the overall profile of the food, that's probably way more informative than just knowing, oh, it's been processed.
Yeah, it feels like the label itself on its own isn't actually very helpful without a lot more context.
Right.
Knowing something falls into this big processed bucket doesn't tell us if it's, good for us, neutral, or something we should maybe limit.
Exactly. And the source material, just by being so simple about it, it kind of pushes us to look beyond that single word. It
Mhm.
sort of encourages a deeper look, maybe, thinking about how our food is actually prepared, what's in it, rather than just writing off a whole massive group of foods based on one label.
It's pretty interesting, isn't it, how a word we use so often, so
Yep.
casually, can actually tell us surprisingly little about the food itself.
It really is quite revealing in its own way.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then.
Right.
What we're really seeing from this particular source is that processed food is basically just a huge catch-all category, a classification.
Precisely. That's the core of it. This material defines it simply by its existence as a classification, not by spelling out the methods or the results of those methods.
Right. Which leads us nicely into a final thought for all of you listening. Considering this vast array of things we eat, from minimally handled to heavily manufactured, how might getting a deeper understanding of the specific processing methods involved, rather than just slapping on the label processed, how might that actually influence how you think about your food and maybe how you make choices?
Yeah, that's a really practical question to ponder.
Definitely something to maybe keep in mind next time you're walking down the grocery aisle.